Welcome to the MLB Slate Breakdown. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Brent Hyde. Taking a look at tonight's 14-game slate on FanDuel and DraftKings. Much better pitching slate than last night. No real weather concerns here tonight. We do have cores as well. Shapes up to be a pretty good slate here.
It does look like it's going to be a pretty fun slate. A lot of great offenses to target even outside of Coors. Some good pitching options on the slate, and good times to be had all around.
Definitely. Diving into the first one here, you got the Red Sox and Yankees. Luis Severino taking on Drew Pomeranz. Yankees kind of luck out here. They face two lefties that I don't even think are healthy in this series, and they're going to get some good matchups here.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think the Yankees are a very interesting stack going up against Pomeranz. Obviously, you're definitely not wanting to use Pomeranz in this spot, given that like his velocity and his command are still a little bit waning. As you mentioned, doesn't look like he's completely healthy, and he faces a very right-handed heavy lineup, and that's probably not good for him.
No, like everything's down across the board. Velocity's down. His contact was way up so far this year. And I think he's been rather lucky, in his first couple of starts here. Could be a big blow-up spots. Obviously, you're looking at the right-handed bats. Giancarlo Stanton, Gary Sanchez, these guys are always going to stand out. And I feel like Stanton against a lefty for 4.9 just seems to be somewhat underpriced.
Yeah, when you look at some of the other guys that are up there, like Mike Trout at 6,300 and Bryce Harper way up there, and then you save like 1,000 on DraftKings and get Giancarlo Stanton in his like 468 ISO against left-handed pitching, seems like a pretty easy pivot. I do like the spot for him. I really like the spot for Aaron Judge. Again, another guy, 270 ISO dating back to last season. 32% strikeout rate, which is a little bit concerning, but Pomeranz is a guy that relies heavily on that knuckle curve. He's throwing it about 33% of the time. And Aaron Judge last season, it's only a nine at-bat sample, but 444 ISO against the pitch. So I do kind of like him as a stack with Stanton in this spot.
Yeah, I do too, and I don't mind Aaron Hicks as the cheaper outfield option as well. Here he's like 3,600 on DK. Let me down last time against the lefty, but I do like him here in this spot.
I do like him as well, and I even like obviously Gary Sanchez, a ton of power against left-handed pitching, but like Tyler Austin, Gleyber Torres, some of these guys that are going to be towards the bottom of the lineup, very good way to get exposure to the Yankees without completely breaking the bank.
Yeah, I agree. Red Sox, last time they faced Severino, they obviously put up a ton of runs. I'm not buying back into that again here. I'm not using Severino tonight, but I'm not attacking him either.
I would consider using him, especially at his price in tournaments, just because he's going to be probably the lower owned of the higher price pitchers, and he does have some strikeout upside in the spot. That being said, I'm not terribly intrigued with stacking against him or using too many guys against him. Obviously, Mookie Betts is on fire, has been hitting the ball extremely well, but I'm not really looking to use anyone against Severino, who is still really, really good.
Yeah. San Francisco Philly next here. Derek Holland taking on Aaron Nola. Nola 10-1. After seeing what Eflin did last time, I was kind of like, man, Nola might be a guy to consider here. 10-1, though, I still hate paying like $9K plus for Nola.
It is kind of tough to pay that price, but this Giants team, we have seen them this season with, some decent strikeout numbers. I mean, they're up to about 23% on the season. That bodes pretty well for Nola. And he's a guy, has an excellent changeup. Doing a good job of getting swings and misses with that pitch, and there are some swinging strikes available in that lineup. If you look last season, Longoria almost 20% swinging strike, Crawford 21%. You had Brandon Belt 15%. You have some guys in that lineup that really struggle with changeups. This could be a solid spot for Aaron Nola. If you're not wanting to pay all the way up to like Lance McCullers and Kluber, Nola could be a solid value, like cash game and tournament guy.
Yeah, I like him in cash games. I think he's got a fairly safe floor. I think the win odds here are very solid for him with Holland on the other side. Nola pretty decent against lefties, 304 WOBA dating back to last year, 20% strikeout rate, under 30% hard contact. Nothing too concerning here. So I do like him at this price. I'm fine with using him. reason why that kind of didn't like Severino as much is because we have like Nola, Paxton, McCullers kind of all in that range.
Yeah, at least on DraftKings, if you're looking on FanDuel, like you can use Nola and McCullers, like because they're $100 difference. But like on DraftKings, where you're getting a pretty good discount on like Nola compared to McCullers and the other guys, I do like that play.
Yeah. No one really stood out for me on the Giants side that I really wanted to use on a 14-game slate.
I mean, Brandon Belt, just a guy with a ton of power, but I'm not targeting Nola in this spot.
No, I do like some Phillies right-handed bats here. Rhys Hoskins, another lefty masher. He's at 4.9 on DraftKings. This is a guy I'm really looking to use tonight. I don't mind loading up in the outfield here with some of these guys.
Yeah, this profiles as a really, really good spot for Rhys Hoskins. And we were talking about Derek Holland, 2.16 home runs per 9 allowed to right-handed hitters dating back to last season, 395 WOBA, almost 42% hard contact. He's managed to not get completely shelled because he plays, out there in San Francisco where it's a very large ballpark. That is not the case tonight. These guys, these righties are in really, really good spots. You mentioned Rhys Hoskins. Holland, a guy throws his sinker ball a lot. It's 42% of the time. Very, very small sample for Hoskins, but 1.500 ISO against the pitch last season. That's really, really good. Aaron out there, excellent option here as well. 875 ISO against the pitch. Even like Carlos Santana, who got lucky last night. He got lucky finally. 214 ISO against the pitch, and Cesar Hernandez 333. Like, I don't necessarily hate a Philly stack here in the spot.
No, I don't either. I like Cesar Hernandez. That price tag just below 4K is a nice bargain at second base. Aaron Altair, if you can't pay up for Hoskins, like he's that secondary guy. Like you mentioned, Santana. I don't even hate like guys like Franco and Kingery and GPPs here either.
For sure, all those guys are excellent options. Franco's been pretty solid recently.
Yeah. Kansas City, Baltimore next here. Danny Duffy taking on Dylan Bundy. Bundy, 12 earned runs over his last 2 starts. I'm kind of still intrigued with the price tag here, like 7,800. I think there's potential in GPPs for him to have a solid start at that price, and especially if you are looking to pay up for some bats. Like there are some kind of limited SP2 options for you to do that with.
Yeah, there really are, and I'm trying to dig in real quick. Like his numbers, like he's been riding his fastball. His fastball like usage was down against the Rays and against the Indians. His velocity was right around where it was. His slider usage dipped against the Rays. His curveball usage went way up in that outing, which is kind of weird. I don't know if it's something like he made an adjustment with his pitch mix a little bit, but I think this is a spot against a Royals team. You can at least take a shot on him in tournaments, even though they're a team that doesn't strike out a ton.
Yeah, I definitely think GPPs is where I'm only going with him. It's just hard to trust. Like you said, there's not a ton of strikeouts here. I mean, you do have a couple guys, like obviously Soler against righties, Duda, Cuthbert, Gordon, some reasonably high strikeout rates in there, but you do have a lot of guys that do have like sub 15% strikeout rates.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, we're talking like on the season, they're striking out like 16% of the time. So there's not a ton of strikeouts available. He would have to get a little bit lucky, but I mean, in tournaments, I don't hate taking a shot there.
No, I don't either. Moustakas, a guy I don't mind in GPPs here. He's kind of the guy that popped out to me. You look at Bundy, I mean, a little bit issues with lefties, which obviously a concern with this lineup, but Moose is the guy that I'd have some interest in as far as like tournament upside goes.
That would be about it. I want to target if Bundy's gonna start throwing that slider a little bit more. Mustak is a guy that hits sliders extremely well, 240 ISO dating back to 2016. So he would be the one off that I would use.
Yeah. Baltimore here in a good spot against Duffy. Can they do it? Is the question. I'm gonna say they can tonight.
I hope they can. I was cheating a little bit this morning, and I started to get a head start on tomorrow's content. And like I was looking, and I was like, they're facing lefties on back-to-back days. 2 lefties that have both been really bad, but the Orioles have been really bad. Something at some point has to give. Like it can't continue with both guys, with the team and the pitcher being really, really bad. I think there's upside for Bundy in this spot. I mean, we're talking about a guy that has strikeout potential, 21% dating back to last season. Orioles have struck out 25% against lefties this year. There's a lot of risk with him, but we've seen at times he's been able to put up some pretty big outings. I don't hate him in tournaments, especially at that price. He's like 5,700 on DraftKings. That's really really cheap.
Yeah, because the Orioles, it really is. It's like two negatives is going to equal a positive here for someone, and it's just going to be a matter of who. I think I'm more inclined with the bats here. Like obviously, I'm going to love Machado. Like his numbers against lefties this year are just insane. But even guys like Trey Mancini, and it looks like they're going to get Jonathan Scope back tonight. Obviously, Mark Trumbo's back in the lineup. Danny Valencia, like there's a lot of guys that do have some solid numbers off lefties here, and I don't mind using them because they're all really cheap outside of Machado.
Yeah, again, it's a risk reward type thing. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to use the Orioles because there's just so many really really good stacks to use. Obviously, you mentioned Machado, fantastic spot for him. Dude has been just insanely good against lefties dating back to last year. I would want to target the guys that hit sinkers pretty well. Duffy's throwing his two seam slash sinker about 25% of the time. So you're looking at like Mark Trumbo, who had a 269 axle against the pitch, Adam Jones at 203, and then your guys that hit sliders pretty well. Those would be the guys that I would look at here if you're wanting to stack them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely viable stack. I think I'm going to use them a little bit more in one-offs though, just because Baltimore's Baltimore.
Yeah, whenever you stack the Orioles, like it's not a night that you want to pay too much attention to your lineup.
Go out, watch a movie, go watch Infinity War or something, and then come back.
Yeah, definitely do that.
Seattle, Toronto, James Paxton taking on Marcus Stroman here. Do we just play James Paxton for the Canadian narrative here? Because I feel like people might say that.
Is that a thing in baseball?
No, it's definitely not. I feel like narratives were stupid in baseball.
I mean, if that was the case, like Steven Strasburg sort of just like murdered the Padres last night because it was a hometown game for him.
Yeah, San Diego State out there, like yeah, but he did.
I mean, I'm more inclined to play Paxton because the Blue Jays are terrible and Paxton has a ton of strikeout upside. But if you want to just roll out the the narrative street, go for it, I guess.
Yeah, let's talk realistic reasons here why we want to play Paxton. One, he's been electric so far this season. Strikeout rate's been insane. 30.1% strikeout rate dating back to last year. Gets a lot of bats in here that have some strikeout stuff. Like I'm not worried about too many of these bats. I love Paxton in this spot. He's a guy that I'm looking to use a ton of tonight.
Yeah, my biggest concern is like, God, he relies on that fastball so much. Like all of his strikeouts against the Athletics in that last outing were like off of fastballs. It's like all he threw in that game. I mean, he's thrown the pitch like 65% of the time. And you do have some guys in that Blue Jays lineup that hit that pitch pretty well. I mean, you have Teoscar Hernandez, who has a 300 ISO against it, but a 23% whiff rate. Josh Donaldson, who may or may not actually be healthy, 338 ISO. Justin Smoke, 352. A little bit concerning with a couple of those names in there, but like there's a lot of strikeout potential in that lineup, and that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. Cash games, I think I still might be looking at directions, especially like Paxton. And I do play mainly GPP, so when I talk about it, it's more I'm looking at him in GPP. So I think I might go other guys in cash games just because, like you said, there are a couple of guys that do profile well. But GPPs, I still love the strikeout upside.
I'm kind of hoping it's one of those things where like he does throw that knuckle curve a little bit more. I'm wondering if it was just they knew that the Athletics couldn't hit fastballs, like high velocity fastballs, and so that's why he rode that pitch. And if you look like against knuckle curves, and there's a lot of whiffs in that Blue Jays lineup. So if he does decide to throw that pitch more tonight, he could definitely have some success.
Yeah, I mean, a couple times this season he's thrown it under 60%, which is he's still up a lot. But obviously he is a guy who does have a good heater. But yeah, like you said, if you can start mixing some of that other stuff, which we have seen a couple times this season where he'll lay off the cutter a little bit more and throw that curveball at a higher rate, which that would be the wise thing to do here tonight.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a situational thing where he kind of relies on some of the off speed stuff a little bit more, and if he does that tonight against the Blue Jays, he could easily have a big game.
Yeah. Um, I don't really. You mentioned a couple of the bats here, but I still don't find myself using them against Paxton.
I mean, there's not really a reason I see to use them. Like I wouldn't use Josh Donaldson over like the million other really good third base options that are actually healthy, and we can confirm that they're healthy. Teoscar Hernandez continues to like post like a 40% hard hit rate. Maybe he'd be a one off, but that'd be about it.
Yeah. Other things, other side of this game here, look at Marcus Stroman. Just hasn't pitched well this year, but still a guy who I think is rather unlucky. Walks have been the biggest thing. He's still a high ground ball guy. Are you buying into any Seattle bats here?
If I was, it'd probably be the righties. Like I would look at like Cruz, Haniger, Segura, but I'm not. I don't really like the Mariners stack in the spot.
I don't either. Like he's looking at just 60% ground ball rate against lefties, 65%. It's really just been the walks that have been the biggest issue. He's getting up a lot of hard contact, but everything's still on the ground.
Yeah, and I mean it's all like I said, it's only those guys, and maybe like Haniger a little bit interesting just because he hits sliders really well, and that's a pitch that Stroman is throwing about 20% of the time. He hit 300 ISO against the pitch. That'd be about it, and you're just kind of hunting home runs in that spot.
Yeah. If this was a different slate, I kind of like Kyle Seager because he actually is one of the few bats that gets lift off sinkers, like 39% ground ball rate. He's got 252 ISO. But like you said, there's like 5 lefty mashing third basemen on the slate that I just want to use instead.
Mike Zunino, he does get a pretty good lift on that two seam slash sinker. I mean, 221 ISO, only a 39% ground ball rate, almost 40% hard contact. 90% average exit velocity dating back to 2016, so he might be your home run catcher.
77% contact rate for Zunino. That's got to be a high.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, a couple one-offs there, but it's nothing too intriguing.
No.
Atlanta, Tampa Bay, 2 solid lefties on the hill here. Sean Newcomb, Blake Snell. It's so weird, though. 2 teams have been really good against lefties.
Yeah, I have a little bit of concern about Newcomb in the spot. Continues to be a guy like he escaped the Mets outing. What was 7 scoreless? Still a guy that's going to continue to struggle with walks. Like he only had 1 walk in that game, but like walks could still be an issue. I have no interest in using him in this spot. I don't hate the idea of maybe taking some of these Rays bats against him, but it would probably be like a couple one-offs.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's another guy who does rely on that fastball quite a bit. Obviously, like I do have some interest in like the CJ Crones. I think Wilson Ramos is an interesting catching option as well, who's hit lefties obviously well in his career, but this season alone, 281 ISO, 395 WOBA this season. Like there are a couple cheap guys you can get some exposure to, and no, I don't think anyone's going to really look at this game for hitters at all because of the 2 names and how they've actually pitched this year.
Yeah, it would definitely be it's going to be one that people really do overlook because everyone hates the Rays. Everyone loves the Braves, but it's not a stack I'd be looking to use in this spot.
No. But even the Braves side, like I'm not tremendously thrilled. Like, obviously Albies matches lefties. Acuna's obviously doing well to start the year. Like Snell's been a guy who's been really solid and a guy who usually does have, some walk rate issues, but I mean, only 7.4% this year. Like he has toned that down quite a bit.
He really has. It's not really a spot that I want to attack here. Obviously, Albies and Suzuki just rake against lefties. So does Johan Camargo. Yeah, I'm not really looking to stack the Braves in the spot. I don't hate like a couple one-offs of the Albies or Suzukis or something like that, but I don't really want to pick on Snell and not in this park.
No, and there's just I don't think the upside's there for Snell. Look at these hitters, 82% contact rate against lefties this year, and what their projected lineup turns out to be.
Yeah, and that's like a sub 16% strikeout rate for the Braves against lefties this season. Not a spot that you would want to attack.
No, but let's talk about a game we do want to attack. Jason Vargas making another start somehow in Cincinnati. I'm looking at this Reds team like they're, the big red machine again here.
Yeah, Jason Vargas has given up 15 runs in his first 8 1/3 innings. I do not think this is what the Mets envisioned whenever they signed him to a $16 million contract in the offseason. Not at all. Like, this is not what they wanted. And Jason Vargas is absolutely terrible. I mean, to lefties, 377 WOBA allowed dating back to last season. To righties, 333. Man, it's a good spot to attack. I love Eugenio Suarez in the spot. Homered again last night. Excellent spot, and a really, really good pivot on like DraftKings off of the chalk, like Nolan Arenado.
Yep, I'm with you. Lefty mash that I always like to use. Adam Duvall, another one, 293 ISO against lefties, dating back to last year. Love getting Duvall against guys who don't miss a lot of bats either, which that's Vargas. I don't even hate some of the lefties here. Like, obviously, Votto's a guy who hits lefties well, 393 with 236 ISO dating back to last year. But even some of the other lefties, like, Scooter Gennett, Shepard even gets the lefties. Like, you mentioned, Vargas is struggling against lefties as well. Like, you can really load up here on either side.
Scooter is really, really interesting because Scooter just mashes sinkers. I mean, dating back to 2016, 255 ISO, 40% hard contact rate, 421 xWOBA. Yeah, that's very solid numbers if he makes the lineup. Duvall is, as you mentioned, really good spot, but I really do like Votto, even though it's a lefty on lefty matchup. I mean, he still has a 236 ISO against lefties dating back to last season, and then Billy Hamilton, a good option down at the bottom of that lineup because if he gets on base and Lobaton is behind the dish, he's pretty much a lock for a stolen base in this spot. Jesse Winker. Any of these guys that make the lineup, the lefties are going to be the ones that go overlooked for sure.
Yeah. Billy Hamilton will steal bases when he's not hitting home runs.
I mean, that's the only two outcomes he has. He's either going to get on base and steal a base, hit a home run, or not get on base.
Yeah. I don't mind Mesoraco if he's in the lineup as well. He's 3K. He's another guy who profiles well against sinkers.
Yeah, it'd be Mesoraco or Barnhart. I think both are viable options at catcher.
Yeah. Mets side things here. Luis Castillo, we do this dance again. His only, 2 starts have been well against Milwaukee this year. I'm still concerned. Like, I'm still not looking to use him here, especially just still with the numbers against lefties. I think that's concerning. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lefties projected in this lineup tonight.
I was looking at him a little bit. If you look at his game logs against the Brewers, and if you look at kind of the pitches that he was throwing, he had success with his changeup. I mean, he threw it almost 40% of the time against the Brewers last time out. Didn't throw it very often in that first meeting, but he relied on that changeup a lot more, and I think it's a move they're trying to get him away from that fastball that he was having issues with. The Mets do kind of struggle against changeups. It's an interesting tournament option, especially against the Mets team that does have some strikeouts. I mean, they're basically league average as far as production goes, but a 22% strikeout rate. I don't hate the price as like an SP2 option here.
It's another thing. It's just, it depends on the pitch mix. Like you said, I mean, his changeup's been excellent. I mean, this year it's, ground ball rate over 50%, 52% whiff rate. Like, it was mainly just because he was throwing his fastball in inopportune spots where he really shouldn't have been. He wasn't putting guys away. I'm not going to say no to it. I'm not exactly loading up on Mets, although I still do like, a couple of guys here, like some of the lefty outfielders like Conforto and Bruce. A couple of those guys, Cespedes over 250 ISO against changeups, Bruce 210 ISO. So there are a couple of bats that I do think do have some power and potential here.
There are a few, but I mean, it would be the lefties if I was doing it. But those same lefties that have the power potential also have a lot of strikeout potential against the pitch. I mean, you have Jay Bruce, 20% swinging strike rate last season against it. Michael Conforto, 24% swinging strike rate. Adrian Gonzalez, 19% swinging strike rate. Ahmed Rosario, almost 30% swinging strike rate. Juan Lagares, if he's in the lineup, 24% swinging strike rate. So it's not a stack I'm looking to use too much. If I was, it would be the lefties. But like I said, I think there's a few strikeouts available for Castillo on the spot.
And on a 14-game slate, like, you don't need to stretch yourself.
No.
Cleveland and Milwaukee here. Wade Miley taking on Corey Kluber. Corey Kluber, your most expensive option on the board here tonight. It's 13.6 on DraftKings. There's a couple guys cheaper that I do think have obviously similar upside. I still do like Kluber. This was like the other night when someone was over 13K. I forgot who it was, and I was just like, I don't care about the price. I kind of feel the same about Kluber here.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much that needs to be said. He probably has the highest strikeout upside of just about anyone on the slate. I mean, I know McCullers and Paxton are up there, but I mean, Kluber is Kluber, and he has a 33% strikeout rate dating back to last season, and the Brewers striking out like 23% of the time. There's not really a whole lot that I'm necessarily worried about with any of these hitters in that lineup, and Kluber is great. He's the top pitcher across the board, period.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to dive into one of the best pitchers over the last few seasons. He's been very solid against lefties, so I'm not worried about some of the lefties that are in this lineup. And even if they throw in a couple extra guys, like I'm not concerned here. His stuff is just so electric that I'm fine with using. I'm fine with paying that price tag. This is like the Garrett Cole situation where I'm very okay paying up that price in this situation.
100% agree.
Yeah, especially because batters are not expensive tonight.
No.
So there's no one from Milwaukee that I'm looking at here.
I mean, Travis Shaw, what is it like? He has like a 360 or something batting average and 11 at bats against Kluber. He has like one home run and an RBI. So there you go. There's some PvP if you're really dying.
Oh man, Cleveland side of things here. We said this Wade Miley was the tilting guy to stack against, and that was the case against Cincinnati here. There's been a lot of underperforming bats against lefties this year, and I think could be a breakout spot, especially in this ballpark.
I would like to think so, yes. There are a lot of guys that have kind of underperformed against lefties. I mean, the Indians 13th in baseball against the handedness sub 100 WRC plus, but they've been hitting the ball really, really hard, like almost 40% hard contact. So there are some guys I think you could look at. Unfortunately, it's Wade Miley, and he's probably going to tilt everyone off a cliff again.
Probably. I'm not going super in depth with the kind of platoon guys like the Brandon Geyers and Rajai Davises. Like they're there if you want to use them. I do have more interest in the more expensive bats here, like Lindor, Ramirez, Encarnacion's a guy that I like tonight here as well. I'm not necessarily going into the other guys. It's more of just the main names.
Yeah, it would be the Lindors, the Jose Ramirez, as you mentioned. I don't hate Rajai Davis in this spot. I mean, he is a guy that does hit sinkers pretty well, and that's a pitch that Wade Miley is relying a little bit on. But Lindor, Ramirez would be the two guys that I have the most interest in.
Yeah, if Davis leads off again, I'm okay with it. But if he's hitting in the bottom half, I'm not.
Yeah, and I don't hate Yan Gomes. Excellent power option, 267 ISO against two-seam fastballs last season and a 500 ISO against sliders last season.
Yeah, and he's been hitting the ball well against lefties, 96 average velocity off of him.
Yes.
So, damn you, Wade Miley, suck tonight.
I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can handle another night of Wade Miley being somewhat good.
Detroit, Texas next here. Mike Fiers taking on Mike Minor. This game turned out to be a pretty decent offensive game last night, and I think that could be the case here again. I am looking more so at the Texas side of things, and I think Detroit here tonight.
Hell must have froze over. The Rangers are viable in back-to-back slates, but Mike Fiers has not been good. We're talking about a guy with a 350, little over 350 WOBA allowed to both sides of the plates. 1.83 homers allowed to righties, 1.97 allowed to lefties dating back to last season. This is a very, very good spot for a lot of these Rangers bats. They were one of the stacks that made it in my stacking article. They're third in there. Man, this is a really good spot for some of these guys.
It really is, and they're all a team that's basically under 4K on DraftKings outside of Gallo, and Gallo's only 4,500. And I don't even mind both sides of the plate here. I know obviously the most of them are majority of lefties, but I don't mind the Shields leading off. I think he's an intriguing part of that stack, and even guys like Profar who had a decent night for this price last night. Like all these guys are cheap here, and like Chu, Mazzara, Gallo are obviously your big power upside guys.
Yeah, those are the two guys I do have a lot of interest in. Mazzara has been absolutely raking recently. It is a really, really good spot for him. Delino to Shields, I do like the righty on righty spot. The Shields, a guy that is mashed like really low velocity fastballs, like fires is tossing his like 34% of the time. It's like 89 miles an hour topping out. And DeShields has posted like a 304 ISO against a pitch dating back to last season. I like him. I think he's going to be an overlooked part of that lineup. And then like Robinson Chirinos, again, there's been a lot of really good catcher options, but if you're looking to stack like the Rangers, Chirinos would be a good guy to get exposure to.
Yeah, I'm with you. Trino's made into the cheat sheets today. Just 3,300. A guy that just people forget about, and he's got so much power.
50% hard contact against 89 mile an hour four seamers dating back to 2016. 50% hard contact. That's insane.
Yeah, send me up. Detroit side things I'm not as high on, but I do still kind of like a few of the bats. Like I'm okay going back to the well with like a James McCann, but Nick Castellanos, I feel like in this spot is still a guy that I'm going to be targeting heavily at these prices. I mean, 309 ISO against lefties dating back to last year. Like he'll go overlooked here.
He definitely will, and it is a very good spot for him. Like, I don't really want to pick on Mike Minor too much. Like, I actually think if you're really hurting for a cheap SP2 option, Mike Minor might fit the bill for you. I mean, he's 6,300. He could have a good game here. I wouldn't be too terribly inclined to stack against him, but Castellanos and McCann and Hicks would be the guys that I would look at.
Yeah, because if you continue to throw that slider a ton, there are not a lot of guys that hit the slider well.
No, there really aren't.
So, yeah, definitely a viable SP2 option.
I think he is.
Miami, Chicago next here. You got Sang on the hill here for Chicago. Jose Urena. The Cubs finally broke out last night. Sang's 4,300.
I will say this: he is not 100% confirmed. He is. It is speculated that he will start because he was scratched from his AAA start on Monday, but it is not 100% confirmed that he's going to be the guy. But I know the Marlins are bad, but Sang is not that good either.
He's not. And I think people might take some shots because he is 4,300. But there are a couple of guys that are just maybe a little bit more expensive that I'd rather use. We'll get to one here in a little bit. I'm not using Miami, but I'm not looking to use him either.
I don't hate some one-offs from Miami side of this thing. I'm like saying, like in AAA this season, he's 0-4 with an 8.04 ERA. That's in AAA. Come on, guy. Like you can't get like a below 8 ERA in AAA, really. And like his numbers, I know he only had like 6 innings in the majors dating back to last season. Had a 12K per 9, but a 7.5 ERA, a lot of hard contact to lefties. I mean, we're dealing with a very, very small sample, so take that for what it's worth. But even if he cuts his 71% hard contact to lefties in half, you're still getting a very good spot for guys like Justin Bour who mash right-handed pitching.
Yeah, Bour would probably be the only one, just because this Miami lineup is pretty ready heavy.
Yeah, it's basically Bour and like Dietrich.
Yeah.
And Bour is 3,300 on DraftKings.
Yeah, he's a cheap guy with some power upside for sure. Cubs side of things here, Urena, guy, I mean, a lot of the hard contact comes to lefties, 36% came back to last year. I am intrigued with some of these lefty bats here. I really like Rizzo at 4,600, a guy who's been quiet for most of this year. Another guy who's still hitting the ball well, nothing too concerning, still making a ton of contact. I think there's a big potential breakout here for Rizzo.
I hope so. It is a decent spot for him. He would be the top bat that I would consider from the spot. I mean, he just doesn't strike out against righties. I mean, 12% dating back to last season, decent amount of power, 219 ISO. So it would be a very, very good spot to start with him. And I don't hate some of the righties. Like Javi Baez continues to just absolutely rake. I don't know if he's going to be in the lineup. I know he left yesterday with some groin tightness or soreness, so I would keep an eye on that. But he would be someone that I would have some interest in too.
Yeah, I don't mind him. Kyle Schwarber, interesting GPP bat for me here tonight, just because you got Urena throwing that changeup quite a bit, 20%. You look at Schwarber, 408 Woba, 480, 419 ISO against changeups dating back to last year. And you just look at Urena against lefties, just doesn't miss a lot of bats.
Now, and Schwarber's a guy who mashes sinkers too, and that's another pitch Urena throwing about 24% of the time. So you can definitely look at him there, and then you want to look at some of these guys. Not a lot of them that hit sliders that well, but Rizzo again hits them pretty good, and Tommy La Stella, he might get in the lineup if Baez is out. You could look at him too.
Yeah, for sure. Pittsburgh, Chicago next year. Lucas Giolito take on Ivan Nova. Um, so Ivan Nova, 6,400. I kind of looked into him a little bit here. A lot of the stuff is more against lefties, but I mean, looking at probably three lefties, four lefties here, not a lot with a ton of power. Like I'm not too scared off. I kind of don't mind Nova on the spot, especially if it's like 6, 7 right-handers for some reason.
Yeah, he's a guy that I have a lot of interest in. Like you're going to get at a maximum 4 lefties in here, and that would be Lori Garcia, Yolmer Sanchez, Delmonico, and Palka. And like Delmonico has not really been that good this season. Like Daniel Palka's the guy that you worry the most about. I think maybe Yolmer Sanchez. Um, I think Urena is probably the top SP2 option on the slate.
Nova.
Or yeah, Nova. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree, and I kind of thought like maybe coming in I'd be a little off the wall with Nova, but I think maybe some people will have some similar thinking. But 6,400, he's in a good spot to pick up a win here. He is a small road favorite. The upside against some of the right-handed bats, like his stuff against right-handers has been very solid this year. 27% strikeout rate. He's not walking a lot of guys. It's always something that's been strong with Nova. But I mean, 62% ground ball rate. You mentioned like the lefties here, like Delmonico under 100 ISO against righties this year. Garcia under 100 ISO against righties. Like you said, Yolmer Sanchez is probably only a lefty that I'm really concerned with, and maybe Palka. But everything else, like there's no Moncada to worry about. I do like Nova here a lot.
Yeah, I do too. And like I said, I think he's your top SP2 option on the slate
Yeah.
if you're paying down.
Pittsburgh side of things, I love the lefties here against Giolito.
I will always love Pittsburgh bats, and when you get a guy like Giolito who just really, really struggles against lefties, I mean, a 207 ISO allowed, super low. I mean, he doesn't have a high strikeout rate in the first place, but really low strikeout rates. It's a really good spot for a lot of these lefties, and they are all pretty darn cheap.
Yeah, Nuka Giolito, a guy who's just throwing that fastball like 55% of the time. I don't mind like a cheap Adam Frazier on DraftKings at second base. 3,200 should be leading off, but getting like Gregory Polanco at 3,900, I feel like is a nice bargain. Even guys like Josh Bell and Dickerson, and even Marte, I still don't mind from the right side. Like I really like a pirate stack for cheap tonight.
I don't hate the righties in addition to the lefties. I mean, you're talking about like Cervelli, just 525 xWOBA against like those low, like 91 mile an hour fastballs dating back to 2016. Colin Moran, he is like a home run power option here. It's only 9 batted ball events since 2016. 529 xWOBA, 55% hard contact against the pitch. So that's a pretty good option there. And then the other guys you mentioned, Dickerson, Polanco, really good spots too.
Yeah, so fire up. I feel like the Pirates probably go overlooked here.
Yeah, they would definitely go overlooked.
Game that's not going to go overlooked. Angels in Coors tonight. John Gray taking on Andrew Heaney. We were talking, obviously, Mike Trout is priced up like he's Clay Thompson. I I'm not going to say no, but I don't see the reason to really pay when we just named like Stanton and Hoskins and all these guys that are in good ballparks and good spots against weak pitching.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it would be crazy to overlook Mike Trout and Coors, but like at those prices, like 6,300 on DraftKings, that's just crazy, and it really really restricts your lineup when you're paying for trying to pay up for a stud pitcher and a guy like Trout at that price. It's very very hard to build a very good lineup. If you want to play him, but like just know like you're gonna need him to hit 2 home runs probably to pay off his to be a good option in the spot. And like I know it's dangerous to go back and look at how a guy has performed at Coors in his career, but like he has 3 home runs in like 7 games at Coors. 2 of those home runs came in one game, one in another. I don't see it. I don't.
And it's not like he's facing some slouch either. Like John Gray's a solid arm in this spot. And like I said, it's hard to ignore a guy 359 ISO and 468 WOBA for righties this year. Like it's Mike Trout, but you mentioned he's got to hit 2 home runs, and that's if like Stanton or Hoskins don't hit 2 homers.
Exactly.
So I don't really like the Angels here. Like I'm more inclined to use Rockies.
I don't hate some of them. Like I think they'll be the lower owned stack from this game, and I don't hate necessarily getting some exposure to a few of them. Like John Gray is not a guy that I really want to pick on, but like 324 WOBA allowed to righties, 154 ISO. I mean, Upton profiles is a decent option here. Simmons, I mean, obviously Trout, but like I don't know. I don't see myself stacking Angels here.
No, I don't either. I will say if you get like maybe like a Valbuena that pops off in the lineup, I don't mind him as a one-off.
Yeah, he would be a guy I wouldn't necessarily hate getting exposure to. Like again, he'd be a lower cost option.
Yeah. Much more inclined with some of the right-handed bats in the Rockies. I think they're going to get LeMahieu back tonight, which obviously is a nice bargain, given he's only 4,400. A guy who's made a switch to kind of get the ball in the air a little bit more this year, but obviously he still has had solid numbers against lefties dating back to last year, over 200 ISO. But I like the stories, and Ionetta's and Desmond's and Arenado's here in the spot, and even Blackman I think is intriguing.
Yeah, Andrew Heaney's going to be in a little bit of trouble. He succeeded against the Orioles the other night. Didn't get completely shelled, but probably not going to happen here. When you're looking at a guy with a 371 ISO allowed to righties and a 405 WOBA allowed, that's problematic against a very right-handed heavy lineup in Coors. Like if LeMahieu is back, you're going to get pretty much all righties except for like Blackman and maybe Cargo. And that's not good.
Yeah, and like to add on to it, like Arenado and Story just both match sinkers.
Yeah, Arenado 289 ISO dating back to 2016, Trevor Story 283, even Pat Valleca 311. Like there's some guys in this lineup that completely rake. I don't even hate Charlie Blackman in the spot. He's a solid option. And you mentioned LeMahieu. If he makes the lineup, I do really like him here too.
Yeah, so definitely some options. And outside of Arenado and Blackman, these guys are all cheap. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like Ian Desmond is like 3,900 on DraftKings.
And Story 43 for a guy with over 300 ISO against lefties dating back to last year. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So, sign me up there. This is one of the nights where I don't mind getting some Colorado chalk.
I will be eating some Colorado chalk, that's for sure. And it's definitely going to be Story, Desmond. I do like Ionetta here. Maybe Arenado, but like we've already talked about a few third base options that I think are solid pivots off of him if you want to try to be a little bit contrarian without being completely stupid.
Yeah. Houston, Oakland next. You got Lance McCullers taking on Sean Manaea. Both two obviously very solid pitchers. I like McCullers in this spot. He's 11-3 on DraftKings. I don't mind getting some exposure to him in any format here. Facing an Oakland team that does strike out quite a bit against right-handers. McCullers obviously still dealing with, the very solid ground ball rates, strikeout rate stuff just still continues to be elite. I like him. He's one of the top 3 options for me on the board.
Yeah, I mean, we're not really breaking any news here. McCullers is a very good pitcher. He has a ton of strikeout upside against this A's team that is pretty strikeout heavy. I mean, almost 25% dating back to so far this season. That being said, they do hit the ball really hard. So there is obviously a little bit of risk with him, but I wouldn't fault anyone from going down from Kluber to McCullers in this spot.
No, I wouldn't either. I don't have any interest in Oakland bats, do you?
No.
Houston side of things, I don't really have a lot of interest in Houston either, just because Manaea is solid. like I said, last night it was George Springer, and that was it. And what he finished 5 for 5 or 6 for 6 or something last night. It didn't stay up all the way, but he crushed Marwin Gonzalez. It really wasn't a complete stack. Like it was Marwin and Springer.
Pretty much. I mean, some of the other guys kind of got in there a little bit. You had like,
Well, for their 5K price tags, it wasn't like huge.
yeah, you had like Bregman who had a decent outing, but it was Marwin. It was Marwin and Springer that were the guys that really did most of the damage, and they're the guys that I would probably worry about in this spot against Mania. That being said, like I think Mania is a good tournament option. He's a guy. He continues. I know he had a bad outing last time out against the Mariners, but like we've seen him with the upside against this Houston team. He's been extremely reliable this season, and Houston against lefties, 24% strikeout rate. Like there's some swinging strikes available in that lineup. Like he throws his changeup like 36% of the time, and you look at like Gurriel, Springer, almost 20% strikeout rate or swinging strike rates there. There's some strikeouts I think in that lineup for sure.
Yeah, I definitely don't mind him. Your boy Max Dossi got in the lineup last night.
Yeah, he did, and he didn't really do that much.
Hey, at least he got in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 2 hits and RBI. So I mean, and 2 runs scored. So I guess I'll take that.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Yeah, I don't have a ton of interest in really bats in this game. It's definitely the arms.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Washington and San Diego. Clayton Richard taking on Jeremy Hellickson. I like some of these Washington right-handed bats here.
I love Washington in the spot, and Vegas is completely wrong here.
Well, all right, sir.
They have them projected for 4.2 runs. And it's like, come on.
I'm not even buying into this game on both sides. Like, I kind of like some of these lefty San Diego bats too.
I don't know. Jeremy Hellickson's been like a Cy Young candidate this season.
Oh man, here we go.
Washington is like my top stack outside of Coors in the spot. They headlined my stacking article. Trey Turner, Rendon, Zimmerman, if he makes a lineup, Kendrick, all these guys profile extremely well in the spots. They're my top stack in the spot. Like there's just no way around it. Clayton Richard has been terrible this season, just absolutely terrible. Command has been an issue. He's walking a ton of guys, and then he's walking those guys, and then someone's coming behind him and putting him in, scoring him. So, yeah, I love Washington here.
Yeah, I do too. Guy throws basically sinker slider for the most part. Turner's the guy who hits sinkers really well. Don't say he can't hit lefties. I refuse to believe it. Like it's such a stupid stat to say.
It is like he has struggled against lefties, but like this dude can hit anything. Like I love Trey Turner in the spot. Saw him heat up last night, so that was promising. And again, I mentioned Zimmerman. If he makes a lineup, they were saying he said yesterday like he felt the best he had in several days, so that's pretty promising that he could make the lineup. 239 ISO against sinkers, 417 xwOBA. Michael Taylor, a very, very, very good value option here. 231 ISO, 405 xwOBA against sinkers dating back to 2016.
Yeah, a lot of good options in this lineup. Rendon way too cheap on DraftKings, 3,700. Like he's the third baseman. If I'm not paying up, I'm using Rendon.
Yeah, Rendon's always a guy. Whenever he's facing a lefty, he's just in play for me. Just an amazing spot for him. And Howie Kendrick, a good value option too. These guys are not expensive at all. And Wilmer Defoe continues to rake down at that 9 hole. If he makes the lineup, someone else you can look at that really people just aren't going to use. Like he's not getting a ton of ownership, and the dude outside of last night has just been phenomenal over his last 10 games.
Yeah. Hellickson against San Diego. I don't mind some of these bats here against them. Like, I think they're all kind of interesting one-off values because they're all super cheap. Like, if Rafi Lopez is hitting fifth again in 2,700, I don't mind him. Hosmer's decent against changeup, which obviously Hellickson throws a ton. Very small sample size, but Christian Villanueva is a guy who's smashed changeups in a very small 11 sample size. But like, there are some options here.
There are a few options. Like they're down there pretty far down as far as stacks go for me. Just because like Hellickson actually this season just has not been that bad. Like I'm sure some of it is luck. But like lefties are the issue that he has had this season. 346 WOBA allowed, 204 ISO. So I would be looking at the lefties and guys that mash changeups, like you mentioned, Rafi Lopez, Villanueva. Franchi Cordero, someone else you can look at, Travis Jankowski, a decent option if he's at the top of that lineup.
Yeah, like there's a couple of guys, like you said, they are just more one-off values, I think, for me. And like I said, they're not an offense that you're looking to go all aboard, but you're playing like a late slate or something, or you need a one-off cheap guy. Like I don't hate some of these options.
I could get behind it.
Arizona, LA, Godley facing LA for the ninth time this season. Godley's the guy I'm not looking to use tonight because I like so many of the other options around. I don't hate him in a late slate though.
Yeah, you summed up my thoughts. Like you and I were talking about it before, like we started recording. We're so tired about talking about like Zach Godley versus the Dodgers, the Dodgers, because it's happened like 4 times already. It's kind of ridiculous. He's a late slate only guy. Like I'm just not really looking to go there if I'm playing like the full slate.
No, I'm not there. Like we talked Nova, we talked Minor, like some of these other cheaper options you can consider to use. So there's options, and I'm not buying into like the Dodgers are going to figure him out. I know they got to him once, but obviously seeing him for the 4th time already this year, they've seen him a ton. They still can't really get to him. He's a decent floor guy. I don't think he has a ton of upside though.
No, and like that last outing, he wasn't terrible. I mean, he had 5 strikeouts, 1 earned run. He just couldn't get the win, and if he did, he would have put up he would have put up a pretty respectable performance. But again, I think there's guys that have higher upside tonight.
Yeah, I do too. And just because Golly's a solid ground ball guy, like I'm not really looking to use some of these lefty Dodgers at all.
No, I'm not really either. If I was, it would maybe be like Bellinger or maybe Austin Barnes. That'd be about it.
Yeah, not thrilled with this one. Not really thrilled with this game. Rich Hill's back tonight. I just don't. Goldschmidt 4-4 just seems too cheap against the lefty. Like I was going to say, I don't mind Pollock, but 5,100. I think I might go some other directions, but those are probably the only 2.
Yeah, those would be the 2 I would look at, and I can't trust Rich Hill in the spot coming back from that fingernail injury. I don't imagine he's going to have a very long leash. Like if there's any signs of trouble, he probably gets yanked. If I'm looking for anybody that could have some success here against a guy that throws that curveball a ton, Steven Souza stands out as an interesting guy, dating back to 2016, 242 ISO, 458 xWOB against the pitch. I don't hate him as a one-off.
He's only 3,600. Definitely a nice like single digits, probably sub 5% GPP play.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it. Pretty long slate there, 14 games. Who do you got home runs tonight?
Joey Gallo and Reese Lightning.
Oh, I like it. For me, it's Kyle Schwarber and Gregory Polanco.
I dig it.
That's it for us. You can head over to dailyfantasycafe.com, check out our tools and content, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Good luck tonight.